Slayer is willful and insolent.
Shop and hang out and go to school and save the world from unspeakable demons. You know, I want to do girly stuff.
Her abuse of the English language is such that I understand only every other sentence.
I love the way we use language on this show.
I've never, ever been told on the show, dumb it down.
We don't make a lot of speeches on the show.
It's sort of a across-the-board style.
The language of Buffy is really the language of Joss Whedon.
I'm a blood-sucking fiend. Look at my outfit.
A lot of it is the way Joss naturally speaks.
It's more a verbal nonverbal.
That's absorbed by all of us and put into the speeches.
I'm gonna give you all a nice, fun, normal evening if I have to kill every single person on the face of the earth to do it.
Joss really talks that way, and we've all kind of adopted it.
I think Joss sort of wanted to try to do is accomplish the same kind of playing with language.
You're being careful, right?
Full of carefulness.
And making it feel fresh and kind of young, while at the same time not making it feel dated.
Kiss rocks. Why would anyone want to kiss? Oh wait, I get it.
A lot of people think that what we do is sort of hang out and listen to teenagers and take stuff from the way they speak, and we really don't. We make it all up.
We love language, and we don't hold anything back, and it's a really nice liberty that we have.
What that means, though, is that when you're writing, you have to constantly think about how can I turn this phrase a little bit.
I'll think of the straight line to say, the line that gets the intent across, and then I'll figure out what's the flippy way to say that.
The girl makes Godot look punctual.
Sometimes I'll go to the thesaurus and just try to find a different word and then play with that word a little bit.
Abbreviate words or fragment words or have a pop reference.
I'm Cletus the slack-jawed yokel.
Just moving them around a little, giving the ear something a little new to chew on. So it's really kind of a word game that the writers have.
But often what I'm just doing is channeling Joss.
Joss Whedon, the creator of the show, goes through and does a rewrite on everyone's script. And that means there will be a good number of jokes in every episode that he has either inserted into the script or that came into the script in the first place because he pitched them when we were working out the story.
It would be fun in high school to have a staff of 35-year-olds writing your dialogue, because you could just be witty all the time.
And in some language, that's English?
So it feels real natural to me that Buffy and the Scooby Gang would have this kind of way of talking to one another that's very individual to them. Each of our characters has their own distinct voice.
How come the sudden calisthenics? Aren't you sort of naturally buff?
Why do I put up with this?
Because it is your destiny.
Right. Now I'm gonna be stuck with serious thoughts all day.
So Cordelia wished for something? Well, if it was a long, healthy life, she should get her money back.
And so you get a feel for what Xander could say versus what Faith could say.
I've never been up with people before.
Hey, as long as you don't go scratching at me or humping my leg, we're 5 by 5.
They're very specific, and they all have their very specific worldview.
It's really delightful. It's really part of making a full and textured world is when you really start getting an ear for who would say exactly what.
Why is it every time I go somewhere with you, it always ends in violence and terror?
I once wrote a line for Xander, and at the last minute said, well, Willow doesn't have much to do with this scene. I'll give this line to Willow. And Jess immediately said, that's a Xander line, that's not a Willow line. You switched it, didn't you? I said, yes, I did.
Usually when someone compliments a joke, it ends up being his because he's just that good.
I may be love's bitch, but at least I'm man enough to admit it.
I love writing for our English characters.
No standards. I mean, any self-respecting demon should be living in a pit of filth or a nice crypt.
Give me a minute. And some defibrillators if you're not too much trouble.
I just sort of give it a try. I'll drop some British slang into their lines. I figure if it's wrong, Joss will catch it. So having Giles call Wesley a Burke.
Burke.
Or other phrases that I've used in other episodes. And in an episode I wrote very recently where I actually changed the name of a demon in order to get a joke about British slang.
Oh my God, he's looking at her.
I'd always thought that Wesley was very Pierce Brosnan-y.
He's got his filthy adult Pierce Brosnan eyes all over my Cordy.
It struck me as odd that we'd never comment on his Pierce Brosnan-ness. So when I had a chance to have Xander react to the fact that Wesley liked Cordelia, it just seemed obvious to me to use the word Pierce Brosnan-y.
But I'm the one getting single white female here.
It's funny, the things that people remember, lines that jump out at people. There's a line in Band Candy, "I'll slay all the time," was one that I wrote that I've seen pulled out and put in articles. As much as we'd love to go all Willy Loman on you.
We're not in the band.
Which has been cited as sort of like a phrase from the show, like one that needs translation, which I think is hilarious. That's one of those, a perfect example of just sort of assume our audience knows it. And in the same episode, almost the same scene, I think, Buffy also says it's like living in the real world house, only real. So they're sort of at the other end of the spectrum to have a complete pop culture reference like that right next to Willie Loman. I love when our show does that. In Gingerbread, Buffy sees an arcane symbol that Willow has drawn on her notebook and sort of says, "Why do you have this?" a little accusingly. And Willow says, It's a doodle. I do doodle. You too. You do doodle too. Which I think almost killed the actors because it's very hard to say.
Buffy, so used to doing these things that are so operatic and huge and the stuff of Norse mythology, and to her, it's like, yeah, and then I got homework.
I broke my number 2 pencil.
Again, you take these giant events and toss them away because we do this all the time on the Slayer.
Synchronized slaying.
New Olympic category. Sometimes something will actually catch on, which is really fun. When a phrase you hear kind of mirrored back through the press or something, and you realize that we've had a little bit of impact.
They get to be as witty as we were in high school.
I can handle the odds, full Monty.
And as dumb as we are now, because we're that too.
It's one of the areas that makes writing the show really challenging and interesting. And that's one of the great delights in writing for the show is when you've written a perfect line.
Want to see my impression of Gandhi?
You know it, you feel it in your gut. It's like, yes, that's what she'd say.
Gandhi? Well, you know, he was really pissed off.